Good morning everyone. Today I will continue the rest of the parts of the population and growth. Okay. So population growth. This part is the population growth. How the population is growth. What is the mortality and natality rate of a population. This is your today's discussion. Okay. Population growth. Population growth, that is the size of the population for any species is not the static. Okay, it keeps changing. Obviously it is not possible that all animals are living continuously. There is no newborn babies is coming or any old ages or any accident does not occur. This is not possible. So, some decreasing and some increasing every day and it occurs in the population. So, it keeps changing time depending on various factors including food availability, predation, pressure and adverse weather. So many causes are there: food availability, accident, weather, climatic change. This is the decreasing and affect the decreasing and increasing of the population. In fact, in this change in population density that gives us some idea of what is happening to the population, whether it is flourish or declining. And whatever might be the ultimate reason, the density of a population in a given habitat during a given period fluctuates due to the change in the four basic processes, two of which, natality and immigration, contribute to an increase of the population density and to a decrease. Natality. Natality refers to the number of the births during the given period in the population that are added to the initial density. Natality means the giving of the newborn baby, birth of a newborn baby. Mortality rate is the number of death in the population. Okay. Immigration means the individual of the same species that have to come into the habitat from elsewhere during the time period of the consideration. And emigration means the number of individual of the population who left habitat and gone elsewhere during the period of the population. Okay. So, natality means birth of the newborn, mortality means number of death, and natality means number of newborn, mortality means number of death, immigration means coming species, emigration means goes out of the species. Okay, these totals including the total population of an area. The population density is time. So if the density time is the, if there is the, what is the relationship between the population growth, natality, mortality rate in a given period of the, obviously in a given period of the 1 year population growth, 2 year population growth. So there is the must be a time period is mentioned. So nt equal to time in t plus 1 equal to nt plus birth plus I immigration minus death plus emigration, because there goes out of the population, they are coming in the population, and there goes out of the population. This total number is the number of a population density. You can see from the above equation that population density will increase if the number of birth plus the number of immigration is more than the number of death plus the number of immigration. Otherwise, it will decrease. Under normal condition, birth and deaths are most important factors influencing population density of other two factors, assuming importance only under special condition. For instance, if a new habitat is just being colonized, immigration may contribute significantly to the population growth and birth rates. Growth models: does the growth of a population with time show any specific and predictable pattern? Obviously, there must be a model that gives you the growth rate increase or decrease. You have been concerned about the unbridled human population growth and problems created by it our country. Human population growth and problems created it by our country, and there is a natural for us to ask curious if different animal population in nature behave the same way or show some restraints on the growth. Perhaps we can learn a lesson or two from the nature on how control population growth. Exponential growth: resource, food and space availability is obviously essential for the unimpeded growth of the population, ideally when resources in the habitat are unlimited. Each species has ability to realize fully its innate potential to grow in the number. Exponential growth, the initial growth. That is the Darwin observed while developing this theory of natural selection. Then the population grows in the exponential and geometric fashion if in the population the size n, the birth rates number per capita are represented by D and death rates number is D. Okay, so B for birth rate, D for death rate, and then increase or decrease in n during the unit time T, that is dn by dt. Okay, so dn by dt, what will be the population exponential rate? Dn by dt equal to dn by dt equal to small r n, rate per capita. This r is the equation is called the intrinsic rate of the natural increase. So what is the rate r? That is the intrinsic rate of the natural increase. Okay, that is the very important parameter chosen for ascending impacts of any biotic or abiotic factors in the population growth. To give you some idea about the magnitude to R values, for the Norway rate of the 0.15 for the floor beetle is 0.212. In the 1981 R value for human population in India is 0205 point, and what current R value, that calculating you need know the birth rates and death rates. So depends on the R, you can calculate the birth rates and death rates. The above equation decreasing exponential geometrical growth pattern of the population, and this is the growth curve. Okay, this is most important. For write down the growth curve of the population. This looking like this type of the growth curve, sigmoid curve one type of, and another one is the just rising. Okay, if there is the line, that is the dndt, that is the either increase or anyone, there is the increase and then start to stable. Okay, that is population growth. That is dn by dt equal to n Rn, and there is the dn by dt equal to Rn k minus n by n. Okay, this is the population growth. K, sorry. Any species going under the unlimited resource condition reach enormous population densities in short time. Darwin showed how even enormous number in absence of check. That following is an anecdote popularly narrated to the demonstrate dramatically how fast a huge population could build up when growing exponentially. The king and minister sat for a class game. The king, confident of winning the game, was ready to accept any bet proposed by the minister. The minister humbly said if he win, he wanted only some wheat grains, the quantity of which is to be calculated by placing on the chessboard on grain in square. In 2 square 2, this is not important part. Logistic growth, that is the chessing board, that is sorted 64 squares with field. Minister C started a single grain in the first square, proceed to fill other square following the minister's suggested procedure. Logistic growth. No population of any species in nature has its disposal unlimited resources to permit exponential growth. Okay, this leads to competition between individuals for limited resources. Eventually the fittest individual will survive and reproduce. You know that any population, which one adapted, which one is the fittest for that environment, they can survive, and which one cannot adapted with the environment, they will be deleted from that environment. These fittest individuals survive and reproduce. The government of many countries also realize the fact and introduce various restraints with a view to limit human population growth. In nature, a given habit has enough resources to support a maximum possible number, beyond which no further growth is possible. Let us call this limit as nature's carrying capacity for the species on that habitat. A population growing in a habitat with the limited resources show initially a lag phase, followed by the spaces of acceleration and deceleration, and finally an asymptotic when the population density reaches the carrying capacity. A plot of n is relation to time result in sigmoid curve. This type of population growth is called Venhals-Pearl logistic growth and is described by the following equation. dn by dt equal to Rn by k minus n by k, n population density at time t and increasing rate of the natural increasing carrying capacity. Since resources for growth for most animal population are finite and become limited sooner and later, the logistic growth model is considered a more realistic mode. Gather from government census data the population figures for India the last 100 years, plot them and check which growth pattern is evident. Population evolved to maximize their reproduced fitness, also called the Darwinian fitness, the habitat in which they live. Under a particular set of selection pressure, organism evolved towards the most efficient reproductive strategy. Some organisms breed only in one lifetime, while others breed many times during their lifetime. Some produce a large number of small size offspring, while others produce a small number of large size offspring. So, which is described for maximum fitness, ecologists suggest that life history traits of organisms have evolved in relation to the constraint imposed by the abiotic and biotic components of the habitat in which they live. Evolution of life history traits in different species is currently an important area of research being conducted by the ecologist. This is nothing important. This is just know about this curve and population, natality, mortality, immigration, emigration, what is the relation between them, okay. Population interaction. There is some process by there they can interact with each other. Can you think any natural habitat on the earth that is inhabited just by the single species? This is no, and such situation is even inconceivable. For any species, the minimal requirement is one more species. Obviously, one cannot single survive. They need their couples, they need their friends, okay. So, one species cannot survive. Even a plant species which makes its own food cannot survive alone. It needs soil microbes to break down organic matter. So many factors involved in their growth. Soil, environment, microbes, all these things. So they are also needed. They cannot grow alone. Nobody cannot grow alone, okay. And the plants and microbes do not and cannot live in the isolation but interact in various ways to form a biological community. Even in minimal communities, many interactive linkages exist, although all may not be readily apparent. Interspecific interaction arises from interaction of population of two different species. They could be beneficial, detrimental and neutral to one species or both, assigning plus sign of beneficial interaction, minus sign for detrimental. Obviously, beneficial means they give the plus and detrimental means anything destroyed, that is give the minus. Both the species benefit mutualism and both loss in competition there is the in each other. Both parasitism and predation only each. So that is the relationship. If there is mutualism, there is the competition. If there is the parasitism, if there is the